Okay, good morning, and let's get started. Welcome to the Trade and Perform ToughTrader.com live market preview. I am Simon. Before we get started, let's jump in with a quick disclaimer that we have to get up. Just a quick legal notice: past performance is not indicative of future results. This is for educational purposes only. Most importantly, right, have a risk plan. Make sure you're not losing money consistently, right? You should have a good win ratio. That's the only way day trading works in my mind, is that you have a high win ratio and you're patient and you wait for the correct setup. And on days when it doesn't give you your setup, you're willing to walk away. Every single person in coaching, when I talk to people, every single person there's two difficulties. Either they cannot pull the trigger, right? Or they pull the trigger way too often, one of the two, right? Either one isn't good, right? The ones who can't pull the trigger are easier to fix because they tend not to blow up their accounts. The one who get confident and pull the trigger too much, take trades away from location or without understanding of what they're trying to accomplish, have a very difficult time. It's what I work with a lot of guys in the coaching beyond just the basic structure of how the market works, right? So quickly before we get going, let's just check out the econ on the day. I have way too many tabs open, so let's kill some of these. Hold on a second here. Let me do this. Okay, for Friday, here we go. We have 9 a.m. mortgage delinquencies. Wow, I hope there's not too many of those. And really, that's it. All the data kind of came flooding in. So the lack of economic data, I do not think the mortgage delinquencies will account for much. Usually argues for balance. The second thing that argues for balance is normally after a trend day up, we get balance, right? So I'm going to expect that pullbacks can be bought and pushes up can be shorted, although I'm not highly inclined to short a market push up or vice versa. I'm not highly inclined I am inclined to buy them. I'm not that inclined to short them. I need a better setup, right? So let's get Globex high and low in, and then we'll roll from there. Globex low was 25.79, not much of a give back overnight. 25.79.50. Right into the white zone. Perfect. Oh, wrong color. Blue. Style. Again, overnight, for those of you who do trade overnight, zones work incredibly well. Wow, I am having a just difficulty getting this blue line to get dashed. There we go. Okay, and Globex high, 25.86. And that comes right in where the point of controls were yesterday. It made sense as well. I'm just going to put it in there in general so we don't overmark the chart. Let's get NQ up, and then we'll go look where our critical areas are. NQ, overnight, Globex low. 63.35.75. That had to be yesterday evening because I remember looking at it while I was doing the charts. 63.35. Didn't quite make it down to my support area. And Globex high came in at 63.52.50. Let's do that. 63.52.50. There we go. So quick note on NQ, right? Let's just bring over the other chart and start. So where am I looking to buy? Let's start with that and get that part out of the way. And let me be very clear. I am looking for 20 to 30 point rotations on NQ. No longer 30 to 60. At 20 points, I am looking to get long NQ. My thesis behind that is that we are now back in breakout mode. And I do not think the market's going to give back everything that it took yesterday. When you look at the history of market rallies, they just generally don't go back. We're going to do that in a second, right? So I'm relying on the market and the intraday profile to give me some help. Hold on one second here. I actually saw Dr. Jeff, and I'm pretty relaxed, Ian. There's not much to worry about. I mean, buyers are in control. I'm hoping that I can find some place where I can get a, somewhere between a 10 and 20 point swing in NQ and a 3 to 5 point trade in ES. It's Friday. Monday and Friday are the narrowest range days of the week, right? And we didn't give back anything overnight, right? That argues for continuation or balance today, one of the two. If we open up and just drive straight out of here, I probably get no trade, right? I'm not all that interested in shorting a net market. I'm going to go review the old PA, but I'm looking for intraday 20 to 30 point swings, right? I'm hoping, I don't know that we can get it, but I'm hoping that, wow, I hate that color. So let's get rid of that. There we go. What I'm hoping for in both ES and NQ is I'm hoping that we open up. My anticipation is open auction, right? So we should have some variation of a bunch of bars that pretty much cross over one another. And I'm not in all that much of a mood to try to scalp one way or another this morning. So we're going to look at the inventory, but inventory is neutral. We didn't really push. There's no one caught up at the top. There's no one caught up at the bottom. And there's no driver, right? The only concern I have is that we're poorly auctioned below. But that's normal on trend day up to be poorly auctioned below, and it's pretty rare to turn back around and just come back and take it. So what I'm hoping, take it back. So what I'm hoping is that we get some kind of balance. We fall out of balance, find responsive buyers, and push back up. So my trade is I'm hoping that we push down, we find some variation on the push down for the push back up, right? And then from there, we'll look for setups within that. In other words, we'll go look at the profile in just a second and find what the likely areas are for the push-up, right? And that's both in ES and NQ. On the Russell, the plan is quite simple. I'll just go over yesterday's chart real quick. Let me erase this. So I think the Russell, particularly for newbies, is the best chart to trade, hands down, right? The only days I'm caution on it is when we have open drive higher, open drive lower. So I was cautious yesterday, but even within that context, when we start off with a day like this is where you're in real danger. But most days start off with an open auction on Russell. If you look, most days we get some variation of an open auction, and it just kind of rolls around one way or the other, right? Which is why when we get started off like this, right, I know the only time the zones, so this is important if you trade Russell, the only time the zones are in danger in the Russell is when we get open drive higher or open drive lower, and we start driving direct in one area or another. That's when, because it's a thin product, it can blow the zones up, right? It gets a lot of money point in. So a couple of things I want to point out. First of all, we had a gap away on Russell, and we gapped over. Let's go to a bigger time frame here real quick. See this? Here's your downtrend. You can see it pretty clearly. This is from yesterday's chart, but here's the downtrend. There's the gap away, right? We traded right up into resistance right here. You can see we pushed right into that resistance area. But pretty much every white zone got respected, even though I did not trade it, right? Which is good, right? That's also, in my eyes, that looks like a pretty bullish gap away, right? No matter how you draw that trend line. No matter how you draw that trend line, that's a bullish gap away. So kind of good on Russell to the upside, right? I wouldn't mind trying to make, particularly out of this location right here, this 1477.50. The only thing I'm cautious about, I want it to respond out of here, right? So from swing low where this rally started to swing high. So obviously that 62 retrace, right, would get, obviously this 50-60 is behind this white zone. The white zone from the gap, here's from swing high to swing low, you'll notice that the white zone is just behind that 62 retrace. I wanted to get out of this white zone relatively quickly, but really, as long as we hold this 50-60 in principle, and I'm sure there'll be some traders trying to trade the 62, so you may want, the zone is proper, right? The zone's based off the profile. It's in the right location. For those who really want a long, you may want to bump up to the 62 retrace. I'll wait for where the chart, where the profile tells me to take the trade, right in here for a long, right? And then on rotations up, I'm going to be a little more stingy with how far I'm going to let these go. Of course, my plan is clear, right? I use these as scalping locations. I'm starting to scale at 9 ticks, 2 points. I move my stop to break even and let the trailer run, right? And I try to pay for my stop with the first 2 scales if I can, if not the whole scale on the whole trade on the first 9 ticks to a point, right? and then move my stop to break even, cross my fingers that it just goes, right? I use it purely as a scalping vehicle. I'm not trying to figure out where it's trying to run up or run down. Okay. Well, the other quick note I wanted to point out on ES, right? So there's not a lot of overhead resistance on ES, just so you know. I'm going to go to the chart in a second. I just want to review because I did not point it out yesterday. I gave up on the day right here. Like I recognized we were in trend day up. I had no desire to short, but we came right to the white zone. So yesterday I was mentioning, guys in the room, several guys were saying, asking me why I didn't want to get long here in this area, this 2586. I had one or two questions why I didn't want to get long. Once we stretch up, we were up, I believe, 25 points on the day. And my experience over 20 years, has been once ES reaches 20 up, it is very difficult to get it to extend another even 5 points. It runs out of juice. If you look yesterday intraday, the low was 25.74. The high came out at 74, 84, 89, 15 points intraday. One of the keys to knowing your trading, right, and where you're taking risk is know how far your index can stretch for the most part. That's why on NQ, when we're down 100, I'm swinging at the fences trying to capture that trade, right? Well, in ES, once you get up 20, if you shorted every time intraday the market was up 20 points from prior day's close, you'd have a pretty hard time over time, meaning years, right? Your stops would probably be in the handful of numbers, and your profits would be very large because quite often that's where we end up with big rolls back to the downside. And you can see from 89, we rolled all the way back to 84. That was probably the best location of the day. I wanted to see a stop timing on the one timing on a higher time frame. And you can see on the 15 minutes, we never stopped one time. We consolidated sideways here. So on the 15 minutes, to get underneath my last buyer, right? This is the first place we got underneath our last buyer was right here. And you can see that's where they ended up taking profits. What I wanted to see was get underneath my last buyer, get a push back up, and then get a roll down. It was at the end of the day, and I wasn't going to screw with it, but that's what I was looking for. If you go to, again, to the higher time frame, stopping the one timing to the upside, right, is very, very important. And you can see the whole day, this is where we stopped one timing to the upside on a 30-minute time frame. This is what institutions are looking at, right? Larger traders looking at that trade. Once you stop one timing, particularly late in the day, you're open to profit taking. And what I was hoping for, again, there's two paths, and we were discussing this yesterday. You can simply go, oh, we stopped one timing, short that bar with the stop right above. But remember, the pattern is when we stop one timing is what I want to do is kind of catch it as it pushes back into this area, because it is possible to get one last stretch up and then get the exhaustion. You should sear into your brain that this is very common to stop one timing, give a last exhaust to the upside, and then sweep. You see it all the time. If you want to find a good place to see it, oil does it all the time. It does the same pattern on the long side. You'll come down, you'll stop one timing, and it'll make one more dash to the low, trap back in, and be gone. So when I see the one timing stop, if I get to a new high, okay, so the second setup on this trade, this is, well, I'm telling you this because this is where there's a lot of money available, okay, is the push to a new high after we stop one timing, and then the trap back into the range after that new high is established. That is a highly profitable, big potential swing trade. If I was an options trader or a swing trader, I'd be hunting this pattern all the time. I'd be very, very eager to find it, and I'd be willing to trade it with relatively large stops because I want to let it meander, because what you end up doing is getting it swept, again, more on the commodity side than on the equity index side, but both sides matter, right? So I want to be clear before I jump over to the charts. My trade plan today, initially, since I don't know what the price action is going to look like, is I am standing aside for the first half hour to watch what the price action looks like. I'm not trying to grab the long. I'm not trying to grab the short. I'm disinclined to short, okay, until we fall out of value or get behind the 62 retrace from yesterday. I am looking for responsive buyers. Okay, I'm using 20 points instead of 30 points as my initial entry on NQ. Given that it's at a point of location, I'm looking for 20s, not 30s, okay, because I think there'll be responsive buyers. If that blows up the first time on me, again, it'll coincide with location, so the odds are that it won't blow up on me, but then I'll retreat back to the 60 points. And then I am looking for grindy markets, which means I already have in my head fewer trades, right? I don't want to shift into a scalping mode. I want to be able to find where the low is or where the likely low is. And if we do get an open drive lower, I'll wait till we get above the last seller, right? So let me clarify for those that are new in the room. We start driving lower. Here's my last seller. When we trade above that last seller, right, I may be trading, but that won't be my largest size. When we get above that last seller, I will wait to push against that last seller for a rotation back up, right? And I think it's Friday afternoon and the B team will be on deck after New York lunch. That's my thought process for the day. Let's go look at the charts real quick. Is everyone clear? Have I been clear? In ES, I'm looking for 6 to 10 point rotations down. If I don't get them, I'm probably not trading ES if I don't get those rotations. Okay. So a couple of, one more thing, a couple of important areas on the chart today. Let me close this down. Okay. For your notes. The most important retrace of the day, which also happens to line up with location, right, is this 62 retrace. Okay, lines up right in the back of the white zone. This is a correct location. It's the bottom of value area, but it's behind the 62 retrace. I would rather see a responsive buyer come in before I jump on this zone. That zone's yellow for that reason. There is location here. So a specific note for 63.1150 to 63.05. Either reduce size if you're just taking it down, tick divergence, or wait till we see this pattern where we get one responsive buyer out of that area, and so that you can measure risk. This way you don't get caught, right? Because we've all seen in the room plenty of times. You get caught behind the 62 retrace. We go into, everyone panics that the rally's busted. They get into long liquidation, right? And they come down and test Thursday's low. At Thursday's low, the opening print was right here, 62.95. We drove right out of it. If you're looking for a scalp location, on NQ, it is very likely that we get a quick response from Thursday's low. Your risk is that you're balancing against being trapped behind the 62 retrace. You all know me. I'm likely to be taking a trade there for a scalp. But again, I will be out relatively quickly because I'm mindful that we're back behind the 62 retrace, right? I'd really just rather take this 62 retrace first time in and roll with it. That would require breaking Globex low as well, okay? On ES, same note. So a couple things to note on ES before we get overly bullish. We're still stuck under the high. We couldn't break it yesterday. You would have thought we could have with all the strength. It was just stretched too far. We'll see if they take care of the job today. Therefore, this zone, 89 to 50, this area, you know what? I didn't color that blue, did I? Okay, let me make sure I have that right high on ES. 2586. Oh, I take it back. That's the point of control. What is? Oh, that's an old naked volume point of control. Got it. Okay, and see right here, guys. See why the zone's in front? How it came? Yesterday. I already pulled it down, but see how that was the high yesterday? That's an NVPOC. If you don't front run that by about a point, you have a very hard time getting filled, and that is normally a very high odds location. Again, I called it off yesterday because we were trend day up. But that's a very, and I didn't feel like fighting it. That's a very high odds location, okay? Same rule here on the fib. The 62 fib is what I'm most concerned about. I'd like to see us hold above, right? This was the afternoon swing low. Bulls are going to want to be above that, right? Nonetheless, you can see we pull in that 62 retrace. That came right below Globex low. There's also a zone here for, in other words, the zone's not based on the 50-60. Just be aware if we get behind that 62, right, we should snap right out of that. If we get behind it or consolidate behind, the rally's in danger, and then your natural target is all the way back down to this TPO if that breaks, 25.65, 25.63. I want to say that again. We get behind the 62, okay? The opening print was never tested here, so you're likely to get a scalp out of that location, but the larger picture destination is this 25.65 to 25.63 if we get behind the 62 retrace. Can't be any clearer about that in terms of what my expectations are. Again, we're trading 25.82, 10 down, right? So we're trading 25.82.75. That puts us right here, right above the white zone, right? So think about this for a second for guys who are trying to get a better risk reward. If we open above the white zone, does the white zone probably work? Yes. Are you catching anyone out of location at the beginning of the day? You are not. You simply have to make a decision as to whether you're scalping or swinging, right? But you do not have anyone out of location here. I expect this to hold. It held in the overnight. We're opening right up. 10 down, right? 10 down from where we're opening, put you at 72, right below Thursday's low. I expect to test the Thursday's low to get a responsive buy between this area and a retest of Wednesday's high. Remember, Wednesday's high, according to Dalton, will be a retest of the gap, right? I expect an attempted buy somewhere in here. Again, this is 10 down. I expect a responsive buy. But even with a responsive buy out of this area, ultimately, I expect this to act as a magnet and be my ultimate place where I would be looking for a swing back to the upside. I don't expect the market to fall apart. My caveat to that is open drive lower, and we'll know because I'm not taking a trade in the first half hour. Pretty relaxed about that. Any questions there? Is everyone clear why I want to take my trade? I am willing to attempt a scalp out of this location. If you are a swing trader, right, I would wait till you get a better structure out of here. Again, we go through it through the course of the day, right? We get 4 wide on the point of control on a push up. We get an excess at the high, right? We've consolidated up here, trap buyers. That'll give us the setup to roll back down, right? If you're just going to try and shorten here, it's very likely that, so you have to be adventurous because it's very likely you just get trapped up here. And for continuation higher, particularly if NQ is strong, we didn't have the ability to break out, right? The stretch was 25.63 to 25.89. That's 63, 73, 83, 25 points, right? If we get another 20 points today, that's 85, 95, new high, right? 26.05 if we get the same strength we had yesterday, right? So we couldn't do it yesterday. We probably can do it today because we came back to recharge here, right? So we'll just have to watch how the PA opens up in the course of the day. Again, I know my locations below. If you're really adventurous, first tag of the white zone, right? Expect them to ping pong on an open auction between the points of control and the white zone this morning until we work out which way we want to take it, right? Okay, let's go over and look at where value is sitting. This is for those that are on YouTube. This is from my other computer. Overnight. Okay, yes. This is where value was yesterday, right? What does value represent? 70% of the volume. Why do I expect us? Where are we trading right now? We're trading at 25.8250. This is the bottom of value, right? This is the top of value. You can see overnight. We spent the whole night. No one's caught out of position here. This is the overnight session. This is yesterday's session. We've just been balancing between these two areas. This is normal after a trend day up to balance inside the prior day's range, right? I would expect if we push down, we have a pretty good anomaly right in this area. I would expect a push out of value and then an attraction back towards the 8250. Again, this anomaly area puts us at 79 to 78, somewhere in this neighborhood in here, all the way down to 75, right? But somewhere in this neighborhood right here, I expect to push back and then probably an attempt back to 86.25. That's why I'm hoping that we'll push out. So by the end of the day, we can end up back up here, right? If we open drive out of value, I expect this area, 25.74 all the way down to 25.69, that 5-point area. I am looking for a location to get a responsive buy back into value. To give you an example of that, right? Let's see the last example we had where it was below and then we get back above. You know what? This will be easier on a daytime chart. So let me do that. Here we go. Okay, see how we're pushing up here, right? On this day, I would say, hey, as long as we hold this value area, I expect to push back up. Again, as long as once we're here, once we push below, we tested value to here, then we come down, test value a little bit lower, push back up, right? Again, we open up, right, at the bottom of value, and we grind through value, then we finally got on top. Again, we never break the bottom end of value, right? When we do break value, see over here, we gap down. What do? We come into value. In this case, we stretched pretty good, but we came just underneath. This value area ends up acting as a support area. I realize we really stretched here, but if you look at it from a bigger picture, right, it's hard to push through an entire, remember, this represents where everyone did their business, right? It's really hard to push through all these guys and get them to panic too. So you've spent an enormous amount of energy once you get through here. And here we can open this up so you can see it. These are 30-minute time bars, right? So you can see we first push in towards the anomaly, we get a response. Then we push down towards the bottom end of value, we get a response, right? Because you can see the next period was up here. Again, we push down, down, down. We finally get below value. It's everyone is stretched. You see we stopped one timing on this bar on a 30-minute. We clearly got a reversal bar. I'm pretty sure we were long out of here in this area. And you can see we stopped one timing and push all the way back up. So that's what it would look. We're more likely, right? We ended up with a trend day, right? So we're more likely to end up with some variation on this day right here. And if you look how that day went, right? See, we opened up and we just chopped all day long. This is highly likely. If this occurs, probably don't have a trade, right? Because I'm not going to try. In this particular case, we opened at the top of value. Let's find a trend day where we open inside like we are right now. Okay, so here's a day where we had trend day up, right? Here's how the day looked. So get a model, right? We opened up. Notice we came and tested the point of control. So I'm citing 1027, right? Trend day up. We open inside range, right? Today we're trading at 2581. There's the point of control. We open up, drive towards 2586.75, 86 to 89 if we're going to exhaust there. And then we come back. Again, I expect balance. So if you come back and look at this date, right, we open up, strong initial buyers, push to the point of control, come back down, fall out of balance, right, towards the anomaly. It wasn't a really clear anomaly. And then see, this is the opening print right here. Just like I pointed out earlier, that was that day's opening print. We come back to test the prior day's opening print, and then we balance out at the low, and we proceed to build energy. This is a normal, that's why when I say when we have a trend day up, this is normal, right? Let's go look at NQ really quick. So my plan is if we push up, if I get the setup, a very light short for a put, and if I short this area up here like this, and I'm going to have to see the setup push down, but what I'm really looking for is this push down. You'll see we went from 2580, right, down to 2570. We came to our location, which was between this anomaly and the open print. And I'm looking, once we're on that 10-point stretch, to grab my long. And my hope is that we have the strength to push back up to the upside. I'd rather be long than short, even though short paid better here. I'm not overly eager to be short in a bull market, right? That's my 2 cents on that. Take it for what it's worth, right? You can see there's a lot of sellers coming in early in the day. We're down 4 1/4. I expect those, since we're opening near the low, I expect those guys to get squeezed. I'm going to run over a couple of minutes, guys, because I'm not trying to trade the open. I'm going to give the first half hour. I want to take a look at NQ really quick. On NQ, same story. Point of controls all the way upstairs at 63.49. We're trading at 63.45, right? I expect him to come up. Look how many holes are in this profile. This all needs to be repaired. Here's the opening print. My plan is to tag that opening print. If we can roll, I doubt we can roll all the way down, right? So let's see. 63.46 minus 30 puts me at 63.13. There's a low volume node, a pronounced low volume node down there. If we can get there, right there at 63.14, there's also a pronounced low volume area between 63.29 to 63.22. I expect all those areas to get responsive buyers. Again, we're opening in the white zone, so I'm just right at the 62 retrace from yesterday. I'm just going to let them open it up and do their rotation, do what they have to do. I don't feel like I'm at all in a rush today. I'm looking for one trade, put some money in the pocket, and go home is what I'm going to try to do today. It's just been a challenging week in terms of not being able to get location yesterday. I missed my long on NQ on Wednesday, and I'm just pretty ready to let this thing go gently into the weekend, right? Next week, by the way, should be bullish, right? If we come into this area, I expect a response. I doubt that we will. First of all, realize people will be a little panicked, but I still expect a response from the top of this value area. and closing the gap on top. And then I also expect a response. That's a very strong point of control. If we get behind the 62 retrace on NQ, this is my ultimate target. I figure that we'll hold here, and I will be ready to swing hard from that 62.55. That'll be almost 100 points down from where we're trading right now. It's almost inconceivable to me that we get there. I will be hunting. I want to point out, I pointed this out in the room yesterday, guys. Very, very important, right? We go sideways. We get 4 points of control print across at the top, clue number 1. We put excess at the high, clue number 2. Guys, I've been coaching y'all on this, so you know, right? 4, excess at the high, stop one timing to the upside on NQ, roll back to the downside, and ultimately the overnight low, I think, came in close to 33. That's a 20-point rotation. If you held overnight, I obviously would not, but that is a very good trade. You always have to anticipate. Oh, you know what? You can't see this. I apologize. I don't know what I did with that. Did y'all not see anything that I just did? Was this not up at all, guys? Where's my Skype? Anyone? Was this up just a second? I see what happened. Got it. Correct. Let me go back through it one more time. Sorry about that. You were seeing an ES. Okay. Let me go through NASDAQ one more time. We open drive higher, right? We go four sideways. See this bar where we printed excess? The point of control shifted up here, right? That's where that TPO point of control shifted. 4 wide. The first thing I know about 4 wide, we're on a stretch. It's hard to get continuation once you go 4 wide. You don't want to get more than 3 wide, right? And you can see they tried, right? We went 3 wide. Everyone knows it because they tried to break it out on the 4th bar, right? 1, 2, 3, breakout, failed. This bar closed. Okay, this bar closed right at the low. They tried to push it out. This 30-minute time period closed right at the low, right? We had excess. We stopped one timing on the next 30-minute time frame, one more push up, and then they rolled over. The way that looks on a chart, okay, the way that looks on a chart, here, I'm going to give it to you on the 30-minute time frame. Okay, so the way that looked on the chart, let's spread that out. Okay, oh, another quality from yesterday, why it was hard to push up. I want to show you all this really quick because it's important. See all the volume that came up on top? Okay, what do we know we have here? If we get below, we have trapped sellers. These guys develop resistance. So I want to show you this really quick, okay, because I thought this was really important. Okay. See on the initial push up, this is the push up to this point. All the volumes come up here. Next step, volume stays there, right? Third step, volume point of control still over here. Fourth step, high of the day, point of control is still down here, right? We stop one timing on this bar, okay? I don't think we ever shift up. I apologize. Ah, there we go. On this bar right here at the high, see the 63.51 right before we rolled over? We got the shift up on this 4th bar. So realize we shifted the time point of control up here, right? We spent the majority of the time point of control shifted up. We went 4 wide. We printed excess at the high, right? At this bar, when this bar printed up somewhere in this 30-minute time frame, the volume point of control shifted up. When the volume point of control shifted up, late buyers were now trapped, and we were free to roll back over. So guess what we're likely to test? If I was going to short anywhere and I was determined to short this morning, I would like to short 60. So for guys who are looking for a short, 63.51, and I don't want it to close above 63.58.75. I'm going to allow it to even poke its head above. I just don't want it to close above. And then I'm going to see a retest of these holes in the profile to fill back in. And then if we overlay the 50-60 retrace onto this, that brings us right into this area right here. And notice we have low volume nodes and a high volume node right behind that 62 retrace. 63.20 from 63.50, it gives me a 30-point rotation. Guess where I'm going to try and take a swing long from? Right there. If they give it to me. They don't give it to me, I don't care. It's all right. But if I get the opportunity right in this 63.20 neighborhood, I'm either looking for a reversal bar, right? If we're one timing, I'm looking for a reversal bar. I'm probably going to initiate a position in that 63.20 area for a push back up if we get it. And if I am uber aggressive and want to short NQ, only place I really want to do that is at 63.51 against the high of the day. Real simple measure there, guys. I'm either willing to lose money or I'm not. If we look from swing low to swing high, the next important fib in this picture, from yesterday's low to today's high, right? That's a 62 retrace, and that right aligns with the gap, Dalton's gap fill. That's the next area I'll be shooting for. I didn't mark it as a zone, but I said that's a likely response. And then we have a heavy point of control sitting right there. That's an uber stretch. I have no illusion that we were going to make it here or here, but I have it in my notes that that's what I'm looking for, right? And again, I expect open auction. People came in short. I imagine we're going to try and squeeze them up a little bit. And then what my guess is we'll get latent buyers up into this area, and they'll squeeze them down, and we'll just come in and fill the holes in. And hopefully we come in. Again, my goal is to fill the hole in this neighborhood. This is where I would like to accumulate for a push back up. And of course, we're going into Thanksgiving weekend. What better way than to close it out at a new all-time high after we shake and bake everybody. ES, similar picture, right? I'll draw that up really quick. Well, did I minimize that? There we go. Meant to maximize it. Okay. So massive point of control, right? Did this point of control switch? First, let's go to the 1 hour and look at that really quickly. Okay. The point pronounced low volume node, 25.79. See how they're trying to front run it right there? Likely to get a response. 79.50 has been the overnight low. Likely to get an attempted response between that, right? The top of the build is also 78, down to the bottom, 75, right? So notice rejection, first time in, right? Rejection, 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 gap down. Impulse move away. Does everyone see that? Impulse move away. Backside test. Let's shake and bake in here, right? Shake and bake. If we consolidate through here, unable to push below 75, expecting to push out and push towards 94. There's not much overhead. There really isn't, right? In order to be bearish, we have to get below 25.75, right? Looking at the individual profile from a smaller time frame from yesterday, right? So you're overlapping. There's the big picture. There's the profile. There's a giant hole here. So see how we're between the hourly. So now you're battling between the hourly, and then people are battling this hole right in here. My guess is we crisscrossed this a couple of times because of the way that we opened. Natural target up is 25.85, right? Once we're above 85, right? If we close above 85 and consolidate, see how this consolidation broke down, right? If we consolidate above 85 and we don't get back below, watch out for the breakout. I want to say that again so everyone hears me. If we get above 25.85, even if we reject from the high, if we fail to get back below 25.85 once we're above it, right? Watch out for the breakout, right? Conversely, this is the other large point of control. This closes the gap for Dalton right here. There's a half gap right in between here at 25.74 in this neighborhood. 10 down from where we traded, 82, puts us into 72. This location and the gap fill at 64, those are the two areas I'm most interested in. If I could get a high odds swing, again, I don't think we can get down there unless something happens with the Senate deal, but I think that's expected to pass at this point. So that's my 2 cents for the day, guys. I'm waiting for rotation down, and of course tick divergence, delta pushes lower, and relaxed, right? I want to continue to push to get these the scalps are great, but to push to identify locations that will give us 1-to-1 risk reward ratios. And the only way we can do that is if we let the market unwind, or we identify that we're consolidating for a push up, right? But either way, we should let them chop themselves first and then work it out. This is not, by my definition, this is not an open drive lower by any stretch of the imagination. On ES or NQ, this is open auction. We're just crisscrossing people who are trying to trade too fast. Let them unwind this. If they just pop this straight up, I miss. I'm all right with that. And on NQ, same thing. Excuse me. And we're overlapping value right out of the gate, right? We're inside yesterday's range. That usually makes for choppy conditions. Here's 5 minutes. Okay, we are opening up. I know that looks like open drive lower, but it's not. It's just chop is all it is. Okay, they're not. I don't think they're going to destroy NQ or anyone else. They're just pulling down to this high volume area right in here, which makes sense. Again, not much of a rotation for me on NQ. We have a, let me get this in the day. NQZ17.D. We're down 2.5 points. High was 63.49. 63.29 gets us right into this little neighborhood right here, and probably looking for an opportunity out of that level if they'll give it to us there. But we have a lot of holes to fill in from yesterday, right? So let them fill it in. Any questions about the trade plan, guys? Members in the room? Was I clear? The trade plan's clear? Ian, you're usually a pretty good guide for me for that. If I wasn't, tell me now. I'll go over it again. I want to make sure everyone's got it. I'm holding out for the first 30 minutes to see how they respond, see if there's a change in price action, to see if there's a change in environment, if we're going back to low rotations and pops. And then after the first 30 minutes, I'm going to start hunting my trade location. And I expect balance. So since I'm preferable to be bullish and I'm looking for balance, right, I prefer pokes down below for pushes back up. Shorts harder than longs. That's that. So let's go see what she offers. Okay, I'm going to minimize this. Guys, I'm going to actually leave the room open for the first 30 minutes on YouTube if y'all want to stay with us. So I can add any commentary that's necessary. And again, we're at the white zone. I would expect that. I do not expect that white zone to fail. It's just not enough of a rotation for me to take it. And Russell, you can see that perfect rejection right out of the white zone, right out of the gate. I did not take that. Again, I'm letting the first half hour go, but that's unfortunate. I should have grabbed that. Russell's the only one that, unless I think we're going to have a trend day up, I'm pretty much blindly taking it at those white zones. Did anyone take that? Jimmy, did you take that white zone? Great. Thank you, Alex. You missed it. Okay. Yeah, I thought that was pretty straightforward there. There will be an increased push, and I will start a spreadsheet so we can keep track of the win rate, which I'm pretty confident will be high, on stretches down, on getting the emphasis of the spreadsheet will be getting the one-to-one rotation and the higher RR. So make no doubt about that, guys. I'll have that done. Again, I'm going to let them work this out this morning. This is my location, right? This is going to be a 20-point rotation down. I am looking to take a long out of the 63.27. Hopefully they don't hit it in the first half hour. And then I'm looking for them to stop one timing and get back above the last seller, and I will start working that trade to the long side for a swing back up. Pretty patient here. I don't feel like I'm in a rush to get anything done. Thank you. Ralph's pointing out that 25.79 is last week's mid. He's looking for this to hold on the 30-minute to stock long. Fair enough. And he's looking for a push down to the 75, 77 level for a long. Obviously, I don't have that. I'm targeting this open print. If I were going to do that, I'd target this open print for a push back up on ES. Oh, you know, I don't have in. Not that it's very useful these days, but I don't have tick. Let's get that fixed. Imagine we started negative. Look at that. There's the response from the negative open. Guys that are in the room, if you have any questions, you can always email me at tradeandperform, tradenperform@gmail.com, including if you like a trial in the room, or if you have any questions about the market preview, I'm happy to answer those. So we're underneath value, right? We're underneath value from Friday. Right, we're underneath value. So see how we're pushing to the overnight point of control? This is really the target to retest the point of control from Friday, right? And then balance out or roll back down and balance on the bottom. With open auction, right? It just forces you into being very nimble. And that's what we're getting. So we've traveled to the bottom of value, checked up on the bottom of value, right? Now we're pushing back in, and it's just going to be a grinder. You're going to get through all the overnight and then through all of the prior day, right? Doesn't mean it won't do it. Just expect it to just go slow through these areas. This is my support area right down here in general, right? If I was a swing trader, so let's go through this for a second while we're bouncing back and forth, right? And let's do it without the overnight. Let's do it with the so the blue is the volume profile. The pink is the TPO profile, right? And let's squeeze it down a little bit. Okay. Trend day up, right? In this case, we opened up at the point of control. We pushed out, got excess at the top, stopped one timing, came back down. We push a slightly lower high. We print right below the open, right? That A period right there. We print right below the open. We're in balance, chop it out, and push up, right? Not a bad trade. That's, if you look at the low, that's 6,200, right? Right below the opening print. And right, obviously it didn't give very much space, right? We open above, push down into value, push back up, right? Notice in this particular case, on this day right here, we opened above value, right? Push into value, find responsive buyer. See that? That's how we got the rotation up. Consolidate, push. We can't find, we're out of energy, right? We're pushing higher, we come down. We peak below, we peak down to the value area low. See that right there? Push up again. Push all the way down, peak below the prior day's low. And notice when we peak below the prior day's low, we still have support from this value area, right? They rotate it from 62.80 all the way down to 62.25, right? That's roughly 60 points, 234 full 30-point rotations. And then they push it from the low, right? And notice where they come back to. The prominent point of control got tested. It failed to get tested the prior day and pushes back out. The next day, right? See this over here? The next day, we open up, we push into value. It's hard to push through value, right? Reject, come all the way down. What do we test? Well, this is where we've tested the value so far, right? Remember, the market likes to do a sing-song, what I call sing-song process, right? So great. We push down just a little bit further into value from the prior day, right, which was spread over a wide range. So what's the rotation here? This is 62.40. This is 61.90. Again, that's 50 points, almost 2 30-point rotations. We like to poke our head just below the early day low, right? Trap late sellers, push them back up. Realize this is all taking place in the middle of the day, right? You'll see all these come in the middle of the day, these late day traps, right? Notice again, we open up on this date right here, right? We open up, test down into value, find responsive buyers, push out, open up, test into value, push out. So for today, using that same pattern, we've opened up into value. The majority of the value is up here in this area, right? So if we do not click quickly above this area, if we do not get above, expect responsive sellers, which is what we've had to this morning. I already said I didn't feel much like shorting. I'm not going to short. Wasn't interested. I'd like to see them balance, poke into this area right here, the 63.20 neighborhood, right, where I'd like to become a responsive buyer to push back up, right? And I expect chop because we're inside prior day's value, right? Don't expect a trend day up when you're inside prior day's value. You notice in order to get the trend day up, we had a gap above 2 prior value areas in order to manage that trend day up. And this is interesting, right? So we ran through this point of control, right? The initial energy. But if you notice where the slow grind came from yesterday, this was value, right? This is the point from here to here where value had been untested, right? Look at the, so if you look, that was from 62.3650 to 63, from 63.26 to 63.46. And if you look at yesterday, how it treated that area on NQ, we get to 63.26. See how we're boom, boom, boom. Look at all the big bars. See that? No worries. Right up into 63.26, and as soon as we get above 63.26, look how small the bars get. See this? You want to know why the bars are all so small in here? Because this group of guys, this group of people are selling to this bunch of buyers because they're saying, thank you, I was buried on my position. Take my stock, please take my stock, right? Now, they were lucky that there was so much strength that we pushed through it. It does not mean that we stop when we get into those areas. It does mean that we reduce intensity and velocity, right? Doesn't mean we stop, we reduce intensity and velocity, and we go slower, right? So that is what this looks like. Notice once we poke our head above that area, right, which was 63.46, that's right here on the chart. 46. Notice as soon as we get to 46, wham, we exhaust up, right? Backside test, backside test, backside test. We're back in it. Notice how the bars got big, 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 big. We're back in it. Small, 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 small. Value areas cause small, grindy rotations. Outside of value areas, you get big, wide rotations. That's helpful for your strategic planning on how you're going to attack the market, right? So in the meantime, people are getting chopped to death over here, and I'm happy to let them attempt to do whatever it is that they need to do. If I don't get, for people that are new in the room, if I don't get my location, I don't get my location. I'm cool with that. But that's it. My one exception to this will be is if after the first half hour we get a big delta push down and we can't break below Globex low, I'll look to push back in, but I expected pretty choppy conditions. Any questions? In the meantime, plenty of holes to be filled in below and really no resistance above. Well, once we get above the 63.58, right? So let the market do what it's got to do. I'm really hoping to catch them right here. Again, this is the second, third, and fourth touch of Russell. I'd be relaxed on that. Excuse me. On Russell, that 1489 level, that white zone, I will be planning to tag in. First half hour is over. Also, remember after IB high low is established, first hour high low is established, there'll be trades potentially set up off of that. Break of IB, if we start trending up again, that break of that IB high and that 50-60 back will be a pretty valuable setup. But that's as open auction gets on NQ. We're consolidating near those lows. If you're aggressive, you can try the long against this for a tight stop, against this short for a push back up into Globex high, right? Again, that's a scalp setup. We're not on any kind of stretch. There's the test. There's the break. Notice NQ is the one pushing down, not ES. Interesting, right? Remember, so that they're attempting to push below without any help from tick over here to the left. If they trap that back above it, that could trap the last of the sellers. So this is just reading the price action for a push back up. Well, you'll know, Ron, if they close this back above Globex low, that's probably it. Now they're trapping back above now. They try to break below Globex low. Now they're closing back above. My eyes, that's bullish. On the close of this bar, if this closes above Globex low on this 5-minute bar, I will take a half-size position for a push to retest the point of control and Thursday's high. Just watching. It's got to close above there. So they closed it back in. I don't want to see them break that low again, right? So I have a reasonable, easy to manage stop. I want to see them hold Globex low. That was a push below. ES didn't go with it. They tried to break below on NQ. If I take the stop, it'll be a tight stop, right? My goal is to push up from here. Again, that's not a zone trade. That's just a zone. That's just reading the price action. So 63-42-ish gives you a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. I'm going to post this on the Twitter stream. All right, you're obviously welcome to scale as you deem necessary. I think we can get it. So 42 is my first scale. You're obviously welcome to scale as necessary. We got to get behind these sellers here, these wicks to push, right? There's obviously sellers lurking in here. Again, I expect it to be grindy, right? So you have to manage the trade as you see fit. The goal is to get a 1-to-1 RR out of this, right? Wow, very mechanical. It stopped one tick shy of being flat on the day on NQ, right? Again, choppy balance conditions. Come on. Backside testing, Lubbock's low again. Remember on this trade, I'm ready and we'll go long again in this 50-60 area, even if I get stopped on this. Okay. Saying that so you can plan your trade properly. This is aggressive. This is where I want to be long from a trade standpoint. I planned this last night. I will be long out of here. Come on. Oh, that looks like that is going to stop me. But not yet. 63.30 is where I'm sitting. Again, remember, I'm going to reload this trade right here at 63.2750, right? So second trap down, second push down, one tick the low, right? Come on, guys. That should have been enough. That's two tests below. If anyone's scared of this trade, obviously you have an easy out here, right? You're at 35.75, 37 area. Oh, we one ticked the low there, essentially on NQ. That's usually good. I was almost stopped on that trade, so very lucky. You may need a VPOC shift down first, as choppy as this is. Well, looks like they don't want to give it to me. Looks like we're taking a trip to the white zone. Thought I had it. Come on. Tick's pretty neutral. I don't see anything scaring me here. And there's very little volume going off. You know that? We're just having a hard time printing a lot of volume anywhere. Lift thyself up. There we go. 2 attempts below Globex low, both failed. And that was one chop fest we are in. Again, when we're in this environment, the problem with it is you have to sit and wait for it to work itself out, right? There's no easy way, right? We've got to get behind these sellers. That's just all there is to it. If we don't, I'll get stopped on this trade and have to rework it down here, right? That's how it's going to end up going. If that's the case, but that's 2 attempts below Globex low, inability to really make any headway below Globex low. So hopefully we've trapped sellers down here. Now we come back in, push them back to Globex high, and maybe a retest of Friday's high if we can get up there. But Globex high would be my goal. Obviously, the first resistance is going to be the bottom of that 5-minute bar is where they're finding resistance. So once we can get above it, the top of that 5-minute bar, and then Globex high, all of those are visual locations, but that's what it needs to get done, right? So there's no way to trade this fast when it's slow, right? You gotta shift gears and either decide you want to trade in this environment or you don't. So I think we should push out, as my gut tells me. It's just taken a long time. And I'm willing to accept the stop for trading outside of location, knowing that I will be taking the long again inside here. What we don't have is stretch. And we have sub 5-minute bars, 5-point bars. It's both, Ian. Yeah, I may be wrong. They may push to low. Wow. I thought they would have had responsive buyers there, but I guess I'm wrong. Third time below. Is there news out? It's only affecting NQ. It's weird. Third press below. We're about to have, now you got to worry about a test of IB low. Just be aware of that. Coming at the bottom of the hour. So that opens the IB stat. Again, ES, no relative weakness. Russell's fine, although there's no correlation. Just a patience game. So B period was inside A period. That's not right. Right. Yeah. Looks like we're going to test IB low. But not yet. That's disappointing. I thought I had him. Surely they're going to tag IB low now. Well, spared the sword so far. Well, I knew it might be choppy, but this is not what I had in mind. Yeah, I agree, Ian. There may be. Is there any Senate news pending? Anyone? It's weird. Like usually that trade, that second trap above Globex low, right? That would have been usually pretty good for a trip back to the other side of the range. So I will be measuring my MAE and MFE against this trade, right? And the volume is awful. Well, guys, if I'd known we were going into a 1 point NQ rotation, I just would not have done this trade at all. So pretty bad. Let's see if we can get a little push out here. Guys, it looks like the market's on hold for something. Not sure what, but and I can literally count the contracts going off on NQ. That's horrible. So hopefully we're trapping some shorts down here for push back out. Slow markets, caution on shorting them. That's all I can say. We should have spent enough time down here to trap a few shorts. What gets us a point of control shift? 2290. We need 85 more contracts at 63.35 to get a point of control shift there. $60 more. $50 more. This is the second, if we close up here, second A grade trap above Globex slow. And it's got to actually close up here. We never shifted the point of control. It's still at 63.40. Okay, great. Thanks, Daniel. No, I measure the point. There's 24-hour, there's RTH. I just look at the RTH. There's nothing wrong with doing it off the 24-hour. Lots of people do. I just prefer RTH. I think the information is more pertinent for the day time frame. I think by 11 a.m. they're usually matched up anyways. So since most of the volume's done during the regular trading hours. Okay, let's lift thyself. 63.50 and beyond. We got to get above these guys. If we get behind these guys right here, you get a short squeeze up at minimum. We're about to have a point of control shift to 63.38. That's done. That just shifted down from 63.40. It's obviously a very small ball here. That's obviously, just for mental notes, biggest single green bar on the day. Right there, often when you look back, you'll see that that marks the low of the day. Again, I know where my risk is on the trade. I will say this, I'm disinclined to do much more given the pace. All right, I really just want to kind of park myself. We're above the point of control, or attempting above the point of control to explore prices higher. And guys, for those who are in the live broadcast, that's pretty much how we manage the trades when they're slow. Is you got to be willing to be patient, or you got to wait for a fast market, one of the two. So anyways, I am going to kill the live broadcast. Thank you all for joining this morning. Anyone who would like to visit us in the room on a regular basis, Trade and Perform, TradenPerform @gmail.com. And happy to extend you a 5-day pass into the room where you get early access to the charts along with the trade plan. Okay, guys, I hope you all have a great day. Happy Thanksgiving if y'all are not back next week. We'll talk to y'all later.